multiple parts, the IB is going to give you like 6 of them for a paper 2. And then each one, like, it might only have like 4 or 5 parts, but then some might have like 8 or 9 parts. Yeah. So it's really different than the AP FRIQs. But so the IB is definitely much more straightforward. The AP likes to throw you the occasional curveball. Say, okay, well, we know you know this stuff. Let's see how well you use this information in a slightly different manner. So they like to throw new things at you in AP, not so much for IB. Okay, so let's kind of go through. We're on page 230. Okay, consequences of the enhanced greenhouse effect. I'm just going to kind of go down these list of bullets here. So you might need to know like 2 of the 4 for a particular question. Okay, so what happens during an enhanced greenhouse effect? Like we've got more greenhouse gases. What does that mean about the Earth? So the first one says increasing the temperature of the oceans, land, and atmosphere. So everything warms up. Climate change could be a result, and specifically melting snow and ice, which we've talked about before. If we have less snow and ice, then that albedo, that reflectivity of Earth changes, and we absorb more and we reflect less. Okay. Third one says more frequent extreme weather conditions, because the hotter things are, the quicker storms can be spun up. Of course, again, you know, it really changes from year to year with the ocean currents and the wind patterns and things like that. But that's the idea, is that we have had more extreme events with weather in the last, 50 years than we have in the last 200 years. But again, you have to think about, okay, well, how much data have we been collecting? How often have we been collecting? So you kind of have to take that with a grain of salt. And then, of course, because the melting snow and ice, that's going to rise sea levels with increased acid levels. And rising sea levels, with us being on a coastal state, especially the southern half of our state, if the sea levels rise, a good chunk of our state down in Miami and stuff may be underwater. You also can, think about islands and things, especially if they're low. The higher the sea level gets, the less land there is for those people to live on. So that is a real and present danger for some people. Okay, so then at the bottom of page 30 are possible solutions to climate change. And there is like a huge list here. Okay, there's a huge list. I'm just going to talk about a few here. So the first one that says to support a government who will take appropriate and prompt action. That's where the whole your voice is heard by you voting idea. Okay. And if you don't vote, don't complain about what's happening, because you didn't voice your opinion, you didn't put in your 2 cents, you didn't do your duty as an American citizen to vote and let your voice be heard, okay? But, going back, Benjamin Franklin, even though, by the way, he's actually the only non-U.S. president to be on a dollar bill. He was never president.
He wasn't.
Huh? Who was president? He wasn't?
Nope.
He ran for
I
president.
stand corrected. Huh? Now, was there a President Hamilton?
No.
Ever?
Nope.
He
It's
ran
not
for
that guy.
he ran for president. He
Harrison.
didn't get elected.
Okay. That might have been what I was thinking about. Huh. Okay, I stand corrected. Thank you for keeping me in check. Absolutely. Appreciate that.
Secretary of Treasury.
Let's see. Oh yeah. So Ben Franklin,
Yeah,
he
he
said
was like running for
at the beginning
He
of
died to
our
the vice
American
president.
experiment, he said that an informed public is essential for life to continue. Okay, as in, if we're going to vote, we need to be sure to do our research and vote wisely. We can't just vote based on, okay, well, he's in my party, so he should align with all of the things that I think about. No, you gotta make sure, okay? Because you never know who's going to run and what they're going to run on, okay? Also, the laws and things. So you actually have more control over local matters than you do over national matters, okay? So, like, if you're really trying to affect life like here in Jacksonville, you definitely should be voting for when we have the mayor and the council people and the people in charge of the different departments and the judges and the small people that, you know, aren't all in the news because it's not a national thing, okay? Those people have more direct control and effect over where you actually live. The further up you go, the less control they actually have on specifically where you live, okay? So it is extremely important that once you turn 18, that you vote whenever you can and make sure that you do your research, okay? You have to be informed. You can't just go vote blindly, okay? That is important. All right, so some other things here. Use energy efficient devices and use them less frequently. Absolutely. There are different, of course, you guys don't own your homes yet, but once you start to become an adult, okay, and let's say you buy a house, okay, and now you are a homeowner, okay, based on the type of lights that you put in your house, okay, the type of water heater and AC system that you have. Those are all things that you have the power to control based on, okay, well, I'm going to need to replace this. Which version am I going to replace it with, okay? And if saving the environment is important to you, then you're going to let that affect your buying decisions, okay? So there's all sorts of reasons here. You guys can read them. I'm not going to go through them all. I do want to sit on real quick here. There's another graph, page 231 here, okay? So this is from, a statistical review of world energy. This is from 2020, okay? So yes, it is 5 years ago, but information on a global scale, it takes time to get those things, okay? And so you're not going to always have data that's like this year, okay? You have to find whatever most recent data you can, okay? So take a look at this. So oil, coal, and gas, they take up, so these are fossil fuels here, okay? They're taking up 84.3%. Okay, but they have a little side note in 2000, so 20 years prior to when this was made, so it was higher. So we are slowly decreasing our use of fossil fuels from the year 2000 to 2020, which means that we are knowing what we know about human population and growth, and there's more people now than there were before, okay? And we're using less fossil fuels, which is a good thing, okay? So, but I think we need to do more in terms of pushing those
Less
renewable
fossil fuels.
resources, okay? Check it out. Nuclear is
The
so
other percentage goes up.
energy rich. We talked about en- energy density, but only 4.3% of the world's power comes from nuclear. Okay, that could definitely be more. And I know there's a stigma, and we'll talk more about nuclear power in the future. But there's really not a whole lot of accidents that have happened with nuclear. Like there's two major ones, and both of those were like everything possible that went wrong went wrong. Okay, but we've been maintaining nuclear power plants in the world and in the US easily since the 1950s. So 70, 80 years or so, and we've never had a nuclear disaster on US soil. Because there are so many safeguards that are put in place that keeps people safe. So, yeah.
I think, hasn't some nuclear enrichment plants been created to support the energy that AI needs now?
I haven't heard that, but I wouldn't be surprised. Yes. AI also uses a lot of energy, which is a whole nother non-human consumer that we have here. So, and it's relatively new, so I'm assuming the next time this book gets published or this graph gets published, that they're gonna have some sort of, okay, well, this is how much AI is actually using compared to humans. And it will be very interesting to see what that does and how that will affect the next generation of environmental groups and stuff. Proba.
I know it says biofuel is 0.7%, but like, what's like biofuels?
Biofuel, yeah. So that's like, goodness. So years and years ago, I think it might have been like 10 to 15 years ago, gasoline prices went through the roof. Like they got up to $4 per here they got up to four and a half gallon, or $4 to $4.50 per gallon. In California, it got insane, like $6 to $7 per gallon of gasoline. And so during that time, I think it was maybe like 2012, 2016 or so. I'm not exactly sure what it was. You guys can look it up. But there was a resurgence of diesel cars because you could actually use cooking oil in a diesel engine. And it runs. So that would be a biofuel, like a byproduct of food. Like if you go to McDonald's and you set up a deal with them and say, hey, I want to buy your used, oil, your used grease, and I'm gonna put it in my engines. And they'll be like, sure. And so you'll pay them, a certain amount of money, and they'll save the oil for you, and you can use it in your car or your tractor. The engine will smell like French fries, but it works.
What's the byproduct? Like, what is it? Exhaust?
I don't exactly know, but I'm sure it's less nasty than diesel fumes.
This was like French fries behind your car.
I smelled it.
Yeah, but so other things for the biofuel, like back in the day when we didn't have electricity, you could use like cow dung to burn and make a fire and cook your food on.
Because of the methane?
Well, yeah. Now,
It's high methane.
keep in mind though, if you're into gardening, okay, we are at our house, and if you get like black cow, okay, it's cow manure, okay? It looks like dirt, okay? I mean, but it was cow poop, okay? That has been, you know, bagged up. Of course, it doesn't smell it anymore. Okay, it doesn't smell like it just smells like dirt. Okay,
Oh.
but that's biofuel. So there are different kinds of things. Some people may discover how to reuse their own waste for things. And that would be cool too. Not sure if that's possible or not, but hey, who knows? There are lots of scientific advancements that have been made by accident. Like I just read one thing yesterday that that a chemist spilled something on her shoe, and it was the start of the polyurethane spray, like to waterproof fabric. Like it was just an accident, but yeah. So
It's increased nitrogen oxide,
yeah.
I was lucky falling asleep.
increased nitrogen, lower carbon,
All right, you're good.
lower hydrogen.
I
Reuse
think
it.
that's about it. Let me check this one last page. Oh, okay. So one last graph here.
Oh,
So
look at the
on
blocks. They're so easy today.
232,
blocks.
last graph. So here's our graph, changes in energy consumption.
It's
Okay, and these are in terawatt hours. So tera, if you were to look at your prefixes,
Western Europe's using it
let's
so
see,
much.
kilo, mega, giga, tera? Yeah, so mega is 10 to the 6, 10 to the 9, 10 to the 12th power. So that's what we're talking about here. And look at the huge increase from
I think Western Europe uses it
from
the most.
1950 to 2019. I mean, just huge. Of course, from the 1950s to now, like that was the advent of computers and a lot of electric light systems and all sorts of things like that. I mean, technically they had lights back before then, but it really kicked off in the 1950s. Okay. Now notice that the traditional biomass, and I technically should include wood in terms of that as well, because wood comes from trees. It's a biological. It's a biological entity or a living
Organism.
thing, or it came from a living thing, that sort of thing. And so they've used wood consistently, and it's only had a slight increase. But then we were like, oh, we can use this thing called coal, and that increased a lot as well, and oil. So all of our resources have been increasing in use, including the renewables. But we've got to keep track with the ever-growing population to meet those energy needs. Okay, so if you are looking for getting into the energy industry, man, it is booming. Like there are jobs out there, especially ones for physics, because you guys are gonna know how to do things, how to, do experiments, and you've got some basic knowledge of what's happening. So, I mean, technically, physics is everywhere. It's in every industry that you can think of, okay? But because of that, in order to get specialized enough, you really need to go get like your master's or your doctorate in a very specific field, and then go try to find a job in that particular field with those that particular skill set. Okay, like I could not easily go get a job in a contact lens research place. Okay, I would maybe need to get my master's at least in optics in order for me to get in there, because it is very, very specialized. Physics covers, you guys know, a huge spectrum of things. So if that's something that you want to do as a career, you might need to get specialized, which unfortunately means more schooling, but if that's what you wanna do, then that's what you wanna do. All right, guys, I'm done. We have reached the end of our thing. Now, we do not have a test over just the B2 stuff. We're going to continue on and some kind of back to typical physics things with gases and pressure and things like that for our B3. But our test will be combined B2, which is like the global warming stuff, and B3 talking about gases. And there are some overlaps there as well. All right, so I'm done. Feel free to take 5 if you need to. We've got your pods and your quiz. Remember, your quiz will cover, if you get an A on your quiz, then it'll cover both your pods for B2.2 and the B2.3.